After the release of Children of the Jedi in the spring of 1995, Bantam jumped back into the Corellian Trilogy with the second book by Roger McBride Allen, Assault at Selonia. Now, the title here is a little confusing because while there is sort of an assault, it doesn't come until the very end, but I guess when you want every book in your trilogy to have a planet or Corellian place name, you have limited things to use. Assault at Selonia made it to number 9 on the New York Times paperback bestseller list for the week of July 2nd, 1995, and was ultimately on the list for 4 weeks. Now, my recollections of Assault at Selonia were, well, I didn't remember much that happened, but to be fair, not much does happen in this one. If I complain that the first book felt like filler, the second book perhaps even more so, just feels like trying to shuffle everyone into the right place for the conclusion, which isn't always interesting to read. And on the Princess Leia costume count, she spends pretty much the whole book either imprisoned by the Human League, trying to escape from the Human League, and then going around on Mara Jade's ship, Jade's Fire, so we don't have any lovely outfits or lovely hairdos. I think at most we get a description of her wearing a jumpsuit, but cool. So, a brief summary. Our heroes spend this book divided. Han is in prison. Leia is also imprisoned by the Human League. Chewbacca, the children, and Ibrahim the Drawl have escaped to Drawl to rendezvous with Ibrahim's aunt. Luke and Lando meet up with Belindi Kalinda and they head to Bakura to get a fleet en route to the Corellian system. And the evil Starbuster continues to threaten helpless solar systems. So, of the characters in Assault at Selonia, I think I liked Leia best. Leia had perhaps the most exciting plotline, which was meeting up with Mara Jade and then the two of them escaping from Corona House, which was very exciting, but also, when you look at it, not a lot happened. Leia's imprisoned, Mara is moved into her cell, which is just one of the apartments. They come up with a plan, they execute their plan, and then they're just sort of flying to Selonia and run into Han at the very end, and they're reunited. The end. I do appreciate, though, that unlike Han, who is needlessly, perhaps confusingly suspicious of Mara Jade and thinks that she's in league with the bad guys, Leia doesn't doubt Mara very much. I mean, she escapes with her. She's on her ship with her. They're pretty good. And like I said in my video about Ambush at Corellia, I don't know why now Leia and Han are suspicious of Mara Jade and think she's helping the Empire. If we look at Children of the Jedi, which is the book that came out between books 1 and 2, but of course is set years earlier, she's just absolutely pissed about something the Emperor did. This is not a woman that's going to turn around and side with the Empire again. I mean, come on, guys. Han's sort of weirdly grumbly in this one. He also escapes from Human League imprisonment, this time with the help of a Selonian named Drachma, but he's just so grumbly about it. He wants to know what's going on, and he is a little obnoxious about it, just constantly asking questions, constantly complaining, like, dude, you're out. Your cousin isn't imprisoning you and threatening to kill you anymore. Not that Thraken seems like a great threat, but I don't know. His attitude was all over the place in this one. And likewise with Leia, most of the book is Han crawling through tunnels with the Selonians. He finally gets in a Selonian cone ship, but that's near the end. Lando doesn't have much to do. Second book is much more about Luke, in that Luke has to go to Bakura to talk to Gariel Captison and see if they can send a fleet to the Corellian system. I like that Luke got to interact with one of his exes, although I'm not sure if you could call Gariel an ex since they never really actually were a couple, but it was nice to see that, you know, she had moved on. She married someone else. She had a kid. He died. She was prime minister of Bakura. She was accomplishing things. They're sort of able to talk like grown-ups in that they both recognize that, you know, I really liked you, but it wouldn't have worked out, and I'm glad you were able to move on with your life. It's sort of confusing, though, that they go all the way to Bakura to get a fleet, because, number one, Bakura is nowhere near the Corellian system. They explain it as a way that most of the New Republic ships are being retrofitted, and the other ones are all deployed, and Bakura has been testing this way of getting through interdiction fields, which was cool. It was interesting. It just seems like you're reaching here, Alan. You're really reaching here. And Lando's just along for the ride. Likewise, Belindy Kalinda, who I really liked in the first book and I thought had really cool plot line. You're really rooting for her. She's just sort of along for the ride too. She doesn't have anything to do. Hopefully that will change in book 3. But in a way, it felt like a lot of the characters from book 1 were just being maneuvered into place for the final showdown at Centerpoint. Likewise, Tendra thinks that something is up with the Triad who rule her system, Sikoria, so she heads off to tell Lando what's what. But her plotline in this book was mostly her flying in her ship, sending messages to Lando, flying in her ship, sending messages to Lando. Lando doesn't get her message till the very end, and at which point she's still flying in her ship, sending a new message to Lando. I did like Ibrahim and his aunt Marcha. I think the draws are really interesting and get to know them a little better. Also, get more of an idea of what's going on, that there's not just the human league, but there's also the Drawlists who only want Drawl on their planet, and then I guess the Selonian rebels who likewise are populist, xenophobic, pro-Selonian faction. We also realize that Thraken is just sort of a puppet or a figurehead. He's not really behind everything. He claimed credit for the stupidly named Starbuster, but there's no way that he's behind that. He's an alcoholic. He likes to boast. Han knows how to push his buttons. He just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And the Solo children, especially Anakin, while on Drawl, help Aunt Marcha and Ibrahim discover another secret underground chamber like they found on Corellia, and Aunt Marcha explains that it is a planet-sized repulsor system which was used to put all the planets in the Corellian system in place because it's not a natural system, it was a created system. And as we learn at the very end, those planet-sized repulsors can also be used as a weapon, because it's used to destroy one of the Bakuran warships. So let's talk about that. Han told a story in Ambush at Corellia that there's a legend, a myth, that the Corellian system was created by some unknown power. They moved all the planets in place, and this explains why there's 5 planets capable of sustaining life in the Corellian system. And then we find out in Assault at Selonia that, yeah, that's it. They have these giant repulsors buried in the planets, presumably moved them in place from wherever they came from. And I don't like this. I don't know. This doesn't really fit with what we know of Star Wars. Feels almost like something from a Marvel comic, that we'd have people assembling their own perfect solar systems, and it's weird. It's really weird. And then presumably Centerpoint Station is where the interdiction field and the jamming is coming from, and I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that's also the source of the Starbuster weapon, which is blowing up planets, which Starbuster's stupid. Starcrusher was also stupid, but it sounds better than Starbuster. And I guess I could say, unlike the Star Crusher, at least you get advance warning with the Starbuster that we're going to blow this place up so that the New Republic can try to get people out in time, which led to a great throwaway line. Almost felt like a little bit of a jab at the Jedi Academy trilogy, which was Wedge being happy that he's able to fly as a starfighter commander again, because for a while he was doing any job but that. And I had to laugh. But yeah, in a way, Wedge's very short POV section just felt like reminding us, oh yeah, remember that Starbuster plotline? It's still going on. They're still destroying stars. We gotta stop that. I guess at this point, it's sort of confusing who the power is. I'm assuming that it's maybe that fleet that was congregating on Tendra's planet. And it's sort of confusing what their aims are. Thraken said that he wanted Corellia to be solely independent, leave the New Republic, and to kick all the aliens out, but if the triad from Selonia is in charge, and they're composed of a human, a Droll, and a Selonian, I don't think that's what they want. So what do they want? I guess we'll find out in Book 3. That was mostly my main problem with Assault at Selonia, is that even more so than Ambush at Corellia, it just felt like filler. Trying to get everyone slowly, methodically in place for what's going to happen in Book 3. So not a lot happened. We have so many people trying to get to Selonia, but with hyperspace travel down, it takes them days to get there. The children are pretty much having a nice little vacation. They find the repulsor. That's that. That's their plot line. Luke and Lando bring in the cavalry. The cavalry gets there. One of their ships is destroyed. That's it. That's their plot line. I don't know. Especially after reading this one, I definitely feel like this could have been 2 books at most. I think that a lot of stuff from books 1 and 2 could have been condensed into 1. Maybe move some of the stuff from Assault at Selonia into Showdown at Centerpoint, because as it is, it ends with the Starbuster destroying another star, and surely maybe you could have ended it at a different place and then just kept going. And I guess I should mention too that the summary listed on the back of the book is inaccurate. The back cover mentions that Han is imprisoned on Corellia at the mercy of his evil cousin, and he escapes with a female alien, and they need to warn Leia, Luke Skywalker, and Lando of Thraken's plan. Okay. And then who's behind the Starbuster plot? And then they mentioned that Centerpoint Station is an ancient artificial world of unknown origin that has suddenly and inexplicably come alive. That hasn't happened yet. All we learned was that the jamming in the interdiction field seems to be centered on Centerpoint Station. We haven't learned anything further. No one has gone to Centerpoint Station. No one really knows anything about Centerpoint Station, but I guess that's, back cover blurbs for you. They're not always accurate. So, Assault at Selonia, was it exciting? In parts. Was it essential? I mean, I guess it's setting everyone up for the Book 3, but on the whole, I don't know. This may be different when I finally read Showdown at Centerpoint, but right now I'm feeling like that's maybe the only essential book, that the first 2 books have just been maneuvering and filler for the exciting climax that is to come. And next time, I'm not reading Showdown at Centerpoint, because the next book that was chronologically published by Bantam was actually the first of the short story collections, Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, edited by Kevin J. Anderson.